For this video, we will be using Monet as our inspiration. Although Monet used a variety of 7 colors to create all these beautiful hues of color, we have the option of using lots of different acrylic paints and lots of colors. Also, we will be using some texture medium to help thicken up some of these acrylics. You'll want to prepare your tools. I have an acrylic paint palette, a palette knife, and a variety of sizes of painting knives. I've also grabbed some painter's tape, and I've taken my 12 by 12 canvas and just divided it in half. You don't have to do this step, but I'm creating a division between sky and sea. Until you get used to painting more, this is a great little trick that you can use to divide your space. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I like to apply my paint directly to my substrate. In this case, I'm using titanium white and cobalt teal hue to create a sky scene. Because I'm using a larger surface, I'm going to be using the larger paint knife to spread evenly my colors. You want to create movement and some blending. At this point, you can go right over top of your painter's tape because we will be removing it. Don't be afraid to go in any direction. You can add more paint as needed. You can apply it directly to your canvas, or you can put it onto your paint knife. Now that our canvas is fully covered with the sky blue, you can go in and add a darker contrasting color like this Prussian blue to create a little bit more drama in your sky scene. A combination of the Prussian blue and the white will create a lot more drama. I'm keeping my paint knife nice and flat against the canvas. I'm applying light pressure to get all this definition. To create more light tones like you would see on a cloudy day, just add white titanium right to your painting knife and repeat the process. At this point, you might want to think about where the light is coming from. So if you imagine where the sun would be, where would you create a little bit more of a lighter area that if the sun was over here, it would be shining down. And just apply. You can change your painting knife to a smaller painting knife to create a little bit more definition. The thicker your paint becomes, the more you'll see a variation. You can see here that adding the white creates a more of a light area here, as if the sun was over here and shining. So we're going to continue this on down through the bottom. To create the ocean, I'm using texture medium. This can be combined with your acrylic paints to create a thicker, more rich texture. This product will not dilute the color pigment of your acrylics, and for the ocean, I want it to be really deep and heavy looking. Once you've added your texture medium to your acrylic palette, then you can go ahead and mix your colors. It's important to remember that when you're mixing colors, use your palette knife. This is a flat palette knife meant for blending colors together. As you can see, as I blend the colors together, I'm not losing any of the pigment of the acrylic paints. This creates more of an impasto style acrylic paint. As you can see, the acrylic colors of the cobalt teal, the cobalt turquoise, and the Prussian blue are very similar when you mix them together with the texture medium. This just gives you a really nice thick paint to work with. Now we're ready to create the ocean part of our painting. So you want to remove the painter tape to expose that nice crisp line. This is a great way when you're first starting out to guide where your horizon and your ocean are, or your sky and your landscape. Just like the sky, I've added the titanium white to the canvas, and then we'll go in and add the mixed colors. You can take your paint knife right up to that line and drag your color through, coating the canvas. At this point, you can grab your colors and start applying. I like to move the darker color first in different areas. Because this is an ocean, it's going to be really dramatic. And already I can tell how much thicker it is by simply adding the texture medium. This is where you keep your paint knife really flat. Now I go in with the cobalt turquoise and add some of the turquoise into my water. And now I'm going to pick up the cobalt teal. Now that I have my base layer of paint, you can see that there's a difference where it's darker up here and a little bit lighter down here. So this is where you can have fun with your different colors and add more texture and more hues and highlights. So I'm going to come back and add some of the Prussian blue to create a bit more drama. When we look at our sky, you can see it's lighter here and darker over here. So you want to mimic that as a reflection in your ocean. So I'm going to bring the Prussian blue a little bit more down in this area and a little bit over here. I'm just with a light motion creating a little bit of a flicking motion to almost create waves. Because we've used the texture medium, it's a lot thicker to create that dimension. As you can see, just by adding some of the darker Prussian blue, it's completely changed the way that the ocean looks. Because I have light over in this corner shining this way, I've continued it on down through the water. As I flick and pull my painting knife, all the other colors are starting to pop through. This is where you can come in with a smaller painting knife to create a little bit of detail with the cobalt turquoise. So I'm just going to go along and touch in some of that turquoise. And to continue to create that light, I'm going to come in with a little bit of white titanium on my painting knife. And again, the same idea, just tapping it. Now that we've created our sky and our ocean, they look really similar. So now we're going to break it up a little bit. We're gonna put in a little bit of land right here with some trees. For this, I'm using my paint knife, and I'm just gonna tap along with some burnt umber. And we just want the land to go out, stretching to create a little bit of that dimension. To create the trees, I'm using a little bit of carbon black. I want to create a straight line with the edge of my paint knife at different levels. Just like you would see out in nature trees. This tells me where my tree is going to be. I load up my paint knife again with a slight angle and just tap. Using some pine green, I'm now going to go in with an even smaller painting knife to create more dimension in those branches. You just want to tap along almost like in a triangle. I like to tap so that you can see what's behind the trees. Keeping my paint knife almost on an angle, I'm just tapping that color right in. Also add it right along the horizon. For added layers, you can take the paint and add it directly to the edge and just make some lines. Repeating the process, you can go down into the water almost like a little shadow and just lightly add some lines in there. Switching up my paint knife to a smaller paint knife for some detailed sailboats. I've loaded my paint knife and I've just made it blob just like that. Take it on the edge and make a line. And then very gently take your paint knife and make a sail, pushing that red out. Now that we have our first sailboat in, we're going to create another sailboat. This one we're going to do a little bit smaller so it looks like it's further off in the distance, creating that perception of depth. Same thing, make a little line and then blob out your red. With the edge of your paint knife, create that straight line and just tap it. Moving to my smaller detailed paint knife, I'm just going to add some orange. This is a really small detail, but that color contrast really can pop. Load your red and orange onto your paint palette so that we can then create some reflection. So I'm going to start with the red using the edge of my painting knife and just loading it up. You don't need a whole lot. And then just going down straight like so. You just want to create a little bit of a shadow going all the way down. Load again, and this time make it a little bit smaller and create blocks. And then go ahead with the orange and do the same thing. And you can see I'm going all the way down to the bottom of the canvas. And then with your paint knife, just gently, really lightly pull every so often. So next time you want to try a painting, think about who inspires you and create something beautiful.